Yeah, I mentioned before how wars in the Middle East now tend to come to us thanks to mass immigration. I'll give you a really sad example, very topical. Germany's famous Christmas markets, very famous. They're now being set up, being 1st of December and all that. And many now have barriers and bollards to stop truck attacks by Islamists. Like you see in this entrance to this market in Berlin now, because they suffered a terror attack just 8 years ago. You might recall many people dead. Other German cities have got the same. Dresden, for instance, got bollards all around. I mean, now Christmas comes with not just bonbons, but threats or bombs even. Joining me from London is writer, broadcaster and author Esther Krakue, our regular Monday guest. Esther, great to see you. Look, in Britain too, bollards are becoming standard. It's on beautiful York. The market there now behind bollards. Europe has sure changed.
Yes, it has. I mean, the big question now is how do you protect yourself from the enemy within? And unfortunately, this is a Europe-wide issue. I mean, it's quite unimaginable that in order to protect yourself from people within your own population that want to cause mass terror and perpetrate mass murder, that you have to do this. I mean, our children are growing up in a dystopian hell. And this wouldn't have happened if they'd heeded the warnings that were given time and time again over the last more than a decade, for example. People like Douglas Murray have been maligned as the worst form of racist. And then time and time again, he's been proven as being right. I mean, you wouldn't think that we have this problem in Europe if you read a lot of the publications. For example, European media is so sycophantic over the likes of people like Angela Merkel, who's responsible for importing 1.2 million asylum seekers and refugees back in 2016. I'm not sure if you remember. And they were meant to be for Syrian refugees at the height of the conflict. Well, it turns out of that 1.2 million people that were imported into Germany, only a quarter of them happened to be Syrian. The rest happened to be Albanians, Kosovans, Nigerians, and Pakistanis. And no one is being held to account. You have, people, like teachers in France, for example, like Samuel Paty, who was beheaded outside of his school 4 years ago for showing his class images of the Charlie Hebdo magazine that a student lied about finding offensive, and then he was beheaded outside of his school. I mean, these are the kinds of things that you wouldn't think would be happening in Europe now. And now you have places of mass gathering during the Christmas holidays in York, in London, in now Germany that are being bollarded up effectively because there is a threat of people within your own population. It's really just disheartening. And the fact that these elitists are clutching their pearls and pretending not to do anything about it and still maligning the broader population for being concerned about it is really scandalous.
Oh yeah, you'd still be accused of being a racist if you said, well, maybe Enoch Powell had a point all those years ago, or the great author Jean Raspail from Camp of the Saints. Maybe he was right with this warning. Oh, you can't possibly say that. Well, now Michelle Houellebecq, fantastic writer. One person who has been saying it, who did dare and was excoriated for it, is Nigel Farage, of course, British politician. Finally has won a seat in Parliament in the last election. There are rumours now, Esther, and they're only rumours, no one can actually source where it comes from, is that Elon Musk, the world's richest man, owner of X, is now going to support Farage like he supported Donald Trump at the last election and give him $100 million US. Any truth to this?
Well, this is all just speculation, but I'm sure if it were to happen, you would be hearing the BBCs and the ITVs and the MSNBC screaming all the way from space, when in fact, he'd really just be leveling the playing field. I mean, you had a donor, a Labour donor, that had 24 access to Downing Street for a measly donation of £500,000. That's the going rate to have unfettered access to Downing Street, £500,000. But the question is how this will fall with the British public. Now, we know that, Boris Johnson during his 2019 campaign purposely distanced himself from Trump because the media here, particularly in Britain, had such a foothold and was able to manage to get public opinion so against Trump that he actually thought it would backfire against him to be aligned with Trump. Now, I'm not sure it would backfire in the same way because Nigel Farage has been unapologetic about his friendship with Donald Trump. But the question is, if he was getting funding, that significant amount of funding from someone like Elon Musk, how that would play. Now, I think he could raise a significant amount of money just from businessmen and from concerned concerned people here in Britain that could probably rival that amount of money. The question is, will that go down with the sections of the electorate that he still needs to win in the 2029 general election? That's the question. I suspect he'll probably just win based on the issues, which the Tories and the Labour Party have utterly failed. But he would have to be very careful, because we can't have anything jeopardizing, the actual what he would be campaigning on.
Yep. Look, Esther, I regret to say that the BBC, which big finger waggers there, have yet another sex scandal on their hands. Although I've got to say it's nothing like the worst that they've been having, the Jimmy Saviles and all that kind of thing. MasterChef host Greg Wallace is accused of sexual banter to contestants. And judging by what the BBC let go to air, it must have been quite off. But he's now defended himself in a way that has made it worse. Here he is.
I think in that time, I have worked with over 4,000 contestants of all different ages, all different backgrounds, all walks of life. I can see the complaints coming from a handful of middle-class women of a certain age just from Celebrity MasterChef. This isn't right.
Now, Esther, you are not of a certain age, but how's this gone down with women who are?
Well, like a lead balloon, as you would imagine. He's basically called them frumpy and dumpy for not appreciating his rather acerbic and very sexual sense of humor. Look, the thing is, the BBC hears a sex scandal and runs for its life because of the like of Hugh Edwards, who hasn't been in prison and who's not going to be in prison for being convicted of having child sex abuse images, which I don't know about you, but someone having naked pictures of children is called something in my book. Anyway, but this is nothing like that. I mean, these are complaints of sexual comments 10 years ago. What exactly is there for the BBC to investigate? Some of these comments were aired live on TV, and if that didn't cause a scandal, I'm really not sure what it's going to do.
Esther Krakue, thank you so much indeed for your time.